Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome back to another edition of Our Girls Play Hockey. It's Lee with Hayley Scamurra here today of the PWHL Team USA. I love introducing you, Hayley. It's one of my favorite things to do. Today's topic is about physicality, checking, hitting, competitive contact, pushing someone in the board, separating them from the puck. It's got a lot of different names nowadays. And when it comes to women's hockey, it is no secret that the physicality of the game is pretty darn near close to full checking at this point. So we wanted to come on here for some time today and really discuss where we're at with this in professional women's hockey, where it's going. I know there's a lot of parents of, should we be preparing for this? Should we be having our daughters play in checking leagues, right? So I think the consummate place to start, Hayley, is you're a PWHL player. I mean, the only thing I don't see is open ice hits pretty much at this point. I mean, you're checking in that league. How is that? How would you describe it? Has it been described to you from an officiating standpoint of what you can and cannot do? Because from a viewer standpoint, it's like gray area. Like that's a check. That was a check. So take
Yeah,
us through that.
it's been a little tricky, I will say. I think the refs have gotten better with it, and us players are still like learning as well. Because I feel like there were a lot of open ice hits, and I don't think they're supposed to be open ice hits.
Right,
And then like
right.
they were like letting it go, and then you're like, okay. But I would say overall we've gotten a lot better at it. And I know, at one point Ottawa had like a hitting coach come in and kind of like teach us different things. And they had said at the time, like the biggest thing is learning how to take the hit. He's like, none,
Yeah,
like you girls don't really know how to like receive it. And that's where like injuries can happen. So I
correct.
do
Yeah.
think, I believe we had like I think Ryan Getzloff came in during like our orientation week for
That's pretty
the
awesome.
PW last year. We kind of like
Yeah,
talked about like hitting a little bit. And I think it's like working on keeping your head up, like knowing contact is going to come
right.
and to be prepared for it more. But I love the hitting aspect. It definitely plays into my game. So personally, I love it. And it helps where I don't have to like hold it in or hold it back at all when I'm going into the boards to battle. I find sometimes I forget that I am allowed to hit. So I have to remember that I can go because for so
Right,
long I was getting penalties all the time. So I had to learn to rein it in.
right.
And so
Interesting.
that's been an adjustment period for me. But I think last year I got a lot better at it.
Oh, yeah, I would say that. Let me put it this way. I wouldn't want to go one-on-one against you. I'll say that. Now, here's another interesting thing for you is that the PWHL and international hockey, IIHF hockey, Olympic hockey, they're
Mhm.
very different, right? So, do you think the Olympic level or the IIHF level is going to bend the rules with this either? Because I don't see them doing that. They're very strict on calling things like that. And it's not just hitting. Like if your helmet falls off in a game, it's a
Yeah.
penalty. You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
to the book to the last second. That was another thing in international hockey I wasn't ready for. In America, it's the last minute of play and it's maybe a trip. They're not calling it. In
Hmm.
IIHF, you're getting called for a trip. They don't wait.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
how are you going to compartmentalize that?
I think that's definitely a hard part of it for sure. And especially because the games are so competitive at the
Right,
international level and the intensity's up there and like you want to be physical.
right.
So it's definitely difficult at times. I have found that they've let some of like the board checking go.
Yeah,
Like if someone happens to fall while you're battling and I don't feel that they call that as much anymore
sure.
unless like it's a big hit. Like and then they call it like if you're fully extending sort of thing. But if you're just rubbing out and then the person happens to fall, I find that they're not really calling that kind of stuff. But it
Right,
will be interesting to see if they do eventually change that rule with now the PW being that way, with the Swedish league being that way.
right.
So time will tell.
Well, here's the deal. It's depending on how old you are, if you grew up 70s, 80s, 90s, you see hitting as potential injury, right? Or the point of hitting is to potentially hurt someone.
Mm,
And that is just not the way the game is played anymore. Hitting is a tactical advantage to separate the player from the puck. There is some intimidation factors with it for sure, but I don't
hmm
think it's as egregious as it was 20, 30 years ago. So, one of the things I had heard from other coaches is that, oh, the women's game is a lot different without the hitting. It mimics more youth hockey. I've heard that. And the thing is that I think that the physicality aspect is good. because I think it
Hmm.
is a tactic separate players from pucks. I think that should be part of the game, right?
Yeah.
And clearly, the PWHL athletes agree with that.
Yeah.
You made another funny point. You go from playing in the PW to playing Canada, and you can't hit. So
Yeah.
that brings up another comparison. When we think of umpires in baseball, right?
Hmm.
Where, realistically, everybody's got a little bit different of a strike zone, right? Like we all want
Hmm.
the robotic umps to come in and say that's a strike, but different umpires have different strike zones. Do you find the officials that there's, different officials allow less or more or have different rules? And then do you even ask about that? Do they talk to you about that before the game?
The refs know, and I'm going to be honest with you.
Please
I
do.
do not remember refs. Like, that is not one of my fortes. Like,
Right.
so many girls are like, oh, this ref does this and calls this.
Right.
And I'm like,
They're
who
just
is that
stripes to
one?
you.
Like, I literally have no idea. So I could not answer that question, to be honest with you.
No, no, I appreciate the honesty. I mean, it's just interesting to think because, they all have their guidelines, but
Hmm.
when we talk about,
Hmm.
like, again, the new kind of buzzword is competitive contact, what constitute a check versus competitive contact,
Hmm.
and they're going to have discussions on that too. And that's on the governing bodies to figure that out, right?
Hmm.
Now, the next burning question is going to be this. The pro game, the Olympic game, even the collegiate game, becoming
Hmm.
very physical. I'll use my own daughter. My daughter's 10. She's on a 10U team. Sorry, she's 9 on a 10U team. Right? 10U girls team. Now the question is going to come into every parent's mind of, well, okay, they wouldn't hit normally till 14. Should I put them into a position where they're going to learn how to hit? And again, I don't know. I'm not saying I'm going one way or the other. I do think it's important to learn how to play physical hockey, period, or else you're not going to play that much longer, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you say to the youth parents and maybe the youth coaches about, yeah, this is where we're heading, right? We should probably start teaching it, or no, just keep it the way it is. Where are you at on that?
It's such a tough question because
Yeah.
then,
I only
like, if
ask
you're
tough questions,
teaching
Haley.
it,
Sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
well, if you're teaching it and then they start doing it in games and they're getting penalties and it's not allowed yet. But I think you're right in the fact that, like, we can still teach like players to be physical.
Right.
And because, like, you can still rub out against the boards, I think in that sense you can probably still teach players how to absorb the hit.
Right.
So in little things like that, I think we could definitely start using that more in the women's game. And I find that younger players are afraid to play physical with each other, especially younger girl players. They're like, oh, I don't want them to hate me or like be mad at me. And it's like,
Right.
no, like, we're playing hockey. It's a competitive physical sport. It's okay. You're actually helping your teammates by playing more physical, by playing harder on them. So I think in that sense, we could maybe teach it to them a little bit more, uh, with the physicality along the boards.
Yeah, and look, let's talk just progression for a minute. I'll talk as a coach here, and I'll say this is not what I'm about to say is not limited to girls hockey. We do this in boys hockey too. I think that
Hmm.
there is some trepidation in girls hockey to do some of the things I'm about to say. But a great example last night. We did the drill where they had two sticks or they had one stick and they had to grapple. It's edge work, but you pull against your
Hmm.
teammate, you push against your teammate. It's an extremely physical drill. It can
Hmm.
quickly turn into, a dog pile if you're not careful. And when we started it, we hadn't done it yet, and our head coach did a great job. She's wonderful. Oh, I don't want to push too hard. And we came around and said, no, that's the drill.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to pull, you're supposed to push. It took a couple minutes, but then everybody was doing it, right?
Hmm.
I think it's important to introduce all players to that level of physicality, or that level of push and tug, if you will, at the young
Hmm.
ages. I think every age needs to do a better job at 12U of teaching, checking specifically what you said, Haley, which is how to receive a check.
Hmm.
That is just as important as giving a check, is understanding how to receive that force. And I actually think I know we're supposed to be doing. I don't see it enough, and I think that that should be part of a girls only curriculum is how to receive getting hit. Because here's the deal: whether you're hitting or not, you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
Like it's going to
Yeah.
happen. You're going to have a
Yeah.
collision at some point.
Yeah.
The other thing too is that at the younger ages, Haley, like I see a lot of the you see that hesitation before making a play. And
Hmm.
I think that not the aggression, but the physicality helps you not do that.
Mm.
There really is no time to hesitate in hockey.
Yep.
The thinking is on the fly. I always tell my players, especially the national team players, you got to live with your decision. Like the whole game is built off of capitalizing on other people's mistakes.
Hmm.
But I just think, again, from a coaching standpoint, we really should, with girls teams, be having a similar physical curriculum that we teach the boys. And I don't think we should hold back and ignore that because the rules don't allow it. Now, again, we don't teach big open ice hits either to boys. Like that's not, I've never taught an older team how to make an
Hmm.
open ice hit. I've taught hip checks and I've taught, body positioning, but the real egregious hits, we don't teach those. Those just happen,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So I think that it's important to teach the physical side of the game. And I'll say this is going to be real blunt, and I'm going to say it. There will be a player out there that's willing to hit your kid at some
Hmm.
point. Like
Hmm.
whether you like it or not, at some
Yeah.
point, someone's going to come in and want to make the team and do that. So, Haley, I kind of throw it to you for the ending here, but from a coaching standpoint, we should be teaching it. I don't see any
Hmm.
reason not to at this point.
Yep.
Right. So the last one, let's talk about the NCAA, right? You had a pretty nice NCAA career. I'd say when you were there that it was physical, but not to the level you're seeing now in the PWHL, correct?
Correct.
Right. So how did they coach that at that level? Because that's kind of the intermediary, right? That's the in between, the
Yeah.
between stage.
Well, funny enough, I played my high school level hockey in Canada,
Okay.
and it was called the PWHL at the time.
That's funny.
And it was so physical. Like Canada was way more physical than America. Like it
Right.
was wild. And I loved it, obviously. But that's where I had my biggest transition going to college hockey because it was way less physical than my high school time, which
Right.
is kind of funny to hear. But that's where I had to learn to rein
That
it in
is
because I
funny.
got lots
Yeah.
of penalties my freshman year. Like I'll have to look back, but a lot of hitting penalties. And I feel like I had maybe a little bit more like anger in front of the net and things like that. But
Well,
um
wait, real quick, just because I know you. What time were you waking up to do shots in the morning every time at that?
yeah,
Like your life at that time is pretty intense.
yeah, true, true. Um, so wait, what was the question
No,
again
I
with the
just said what.
NCAA?
Oh, just how did they teach physicality at that level? Because again, it is kind of a middle ground.
Yeah, I don't honestly like I've really never been taught. My dad taught me physicality. He always had like the blue pad out and he was always hitting everyone, like going through the boards, like,
Yeah, we
but
all coaches love that drill, by the way. I just want you
he loves it. It's
to.
his favorite.
Yeah.
So I was just always a physical player, but in college we never really talked about that. I feel like it was never really a focal point because I feel like it was called on pretty harshly by the refs.
Right.
But that was especially in our East Coast League. What I had heard about the like Western Conference for college hockey is a lot more physical than on the
Interesting.
East side. So there's like variations in terms of like the conferences from what I've heard. But then now I know they're a lot more physical.
Oh yeah.
So I think the game is just gradually getting more and more physical as it's getting more and more skilled.
Yeah, well, and again, I think it's being viewed as a tactic, not
Hmm.
not not an intent, right? And
Yes.
I think when we view hitting that way or checking that way, it's part of the game. I don't know how else to
Hmm.
say it. And like, uh, I don't want to say only the strongest survive. That's not fair, but there is an aspect of that to this, right?
Hmm.
All right, here's another question, and I'll turn it. This is going to be not a negative question, but was there a welcome to the PWHL moment for you, or was there a welcome to hitting moment for you in that high school league where you got laid out and you went, okay? Like, did that? I feel like we all have. I can remember some of mine playing.
For sure. I think I more so PWHL comes to mind. There's been a few hits where I'm like, oof, like I felt that one. But other than that, nothing too crazy. I can't think of anything from high school days, to be honest. I had one concussion, so that was from a pretty big hit.
Yeah,
But in the PW, there's just a few girls who have the big bodies and it hurts to get hit at
yeah.
that time. Yeah, depending if you're like not quite ready. I remember actually Megan Keller got me pretty good one time. I was trying to break it out and she just laid me out. I was like, oh, don't like playing against you.
Yeah, it's an interesting moment when it happens, like because people does it
Hmm.
hurt? Like it hurts, but there's a shock associated with it.
Yeah.
That's what's tough to
Yeah.
explain, and
And
the
then the
people
adrenaline
watching,
keeps coming back, but for a moment, maybe you like lose the air for a second or,
yeah, yeah, it's a helpless feeling, and I'll tell
Mhm.
you, there's a quick one for me. I remember when I was growing up, there was a point I was one of the taller players out there, and I remember thinking this is gonna be a massive advantage, and it was actually the shorter players that I ended up being scared of
Hmm.
because they'd come in for a hip check. And at my height at that time, a hip check was going right above my knee, which
Yeah.
if you get hit there, you're flipping.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
distinctly remember the motion and feeling of flipping over, thinking this is not good before I
Yeah.
landed. But yeah, look, you get back up, you kind of dust yourself back off, and you just keep going. I mean, I think
Yeah.
I mean, I'll ask you your advice on this, but assuming you're fine after a hit, like if you're injured, which should not happen,
Right.
it's there. But after a hit, get up, get right back
Yeah.
up. All right. If you need
Yeah.
to go to the bench, go to the bench, but get up. Don't stay down. Right.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Like we're talking about that moment of I don't like being hit by you. Right. The preceding moment is got to get up, got to keep going.
Yeah.
Right. How do you mentally conquer that?
I mean, the game's still going on. So
Right.
I also like for my own pride, I'm like, I'm getting up right away and not showing that that
Right.
hurt.
Right.
Right. So I think there's that ego side to it a little bit as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the play's still happening. Like get up, get going. And then honestly, when you get up and just get going, it also hurts a lot less because you're so
Right.
focused on continuing to play. So that's
Right.
always my motto there.
I would just say if you do it right, you won't feel it until the next day when you
Yeah.
wake up. Then
Yes.
you're like, oh yeah,
There it is.
there it is, there it is. All right. Well, this is a little bit of a shorter episode, Haley, but like it's a topic that's come up, and for
Mhm.
those of you listening, again, love y'all. If you're not watching the PWHL or women's college hockey, there's so much of it available. Really,
Mhm.
it's readily available. Watch it because it's not just entertaining, but there's this side of the game that if you're coaching girls or you have a girl playing, you really need to watch, right?
Mhm.
And it's only been the last 3 years that we've had the ability to watch to this level, and it's an Olympic year. So,
Yeah.
so just make sure you're paying attention, and sit down with all your kids and watch it. Again, I'm not just trying to boast up the PWHL, but it's awesome hockey, right?
Mhm.
Like if you're not watching this, I'll say it, you're not a hockey fan. All right,
Yeah.
like just be period, right? Like there's NHL,
Yeah.
there's PW. If you're not a hockey fan, if you're not watching this stuff, so check it
Yep.
out. Haley, again, you were the subject today more than the co-host, but I appreciate your insight, and I know the audience does too.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Fun topic to touch on.
Always. Maybe there'll be a part 2 of this in a few years. All right,
Yeah.
that's gonna do it for this edition of Our Girls Play Hockey. For Haley, I'm Lee. Remember, if you have any questions or you want us to expand upon this topic, maybe there's an aspect of the physicality we didn't talk about, email us at team@ourkidsplayhockey.com, or there's a link accompanying the episode in the description. Click on that, leave your name, your location, let us know the question. Or if you just generally want to ask a PWHL or an Olympian a question, we have one. She's here all the time, every week on Our Girls Play Hockey. All right, everybody have a good day. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.